Way for a couple of our new members and guests? I do. There we go. He's going to go. I brought back some memories real quick. That's why I have a PR781 mic. It's gold. I call it the golden SRK mic in the shack instead of the golden EIB mic. All right. There. Yeah. Portions of the handbooks. There we go. All right. Awesome. Very good. Yeah, we'll applaud that. We'll do some leadership introductions. I'll start with our vice president.
Hey there, Dan.
Hey there, Paul.
So my voice is about gone, and I've got to do part of the presentation, so I'll make it short.
I'll leave you one of these.
Okay. So my wife said, "Thank you." You know, I'm gonna break, but anyway, we're really glad you're here tonight. We're really glad if you've been with us through 2023. We've had a lot of activities, but I will tell you, we have a whole lot more planned for 2024. So big round of applause. Now, Scott and Randy and several people, Bill and Brad, we've all been working on getting the program set for 2024. Mm-hmm. So we're going to mention it later, but don't forget to sign up for the January 4th dipole antenna build. We only have 4 antennas left. 4 antennas left. So it's $15 the night of. You bring cash. Email AV4BA.
I emailed you this morning.
Excellent. Bring the cash to the bill.
To the
bill.
All right.
And lastly, for those that are watching online, we welcome you as well. Thank you for being part of the PRA. We're very glad that you're here as well. And that's all I have. But welcome tonight.
Awesome. Thanks, Paul. We'll go to, let's see, who do we go to next? Let's go to is our treasurer here yet?
Walking.
Well, we'll tease him as he walks in. We'll fine him like $20 or something. How about we go with our chief technology officer?
Hi, I'm Jeff. I'm here with you.
Welcome, Jeff. Scott?
I'm Scott. NA0.
And everybody say hi to Robert.
Hey, Robert.
Hi, Robert. Robert's our treasurer. He makes sure that we don't spend all the money. Randy.
And I'm Randy, K0TNG.
Welcome, Randy.
One of the directors.
That's right. And last but certainly not least, we have our chairman of the board, Brad, who's taking orders. Welcome, Mr. Chairman. Wait, who else is here? Who am I missing?
And then we have Brian, who's not here.
Yeah, Brian, yep.
And we have Dana, who will be taking over.
Dana, our secretary-elect. So everybody say hi to Dana. Hi, Dana. All right. All right. Well, welcome, everyone. Pass the leadership. So soapbox comments. So what we do is we'll do the business meeting after our presentation, as we've started to do here earlier this year. So we'll open it up for any soapbox comments. So newly licensed, you recently upgraded. Anybody in this room? Newly licensed, recently upgraded? How about a new DX contact? Oh, Glenn, what do you got? Botswana. Wow. Awesome. Brad.
New Zealand on 6 meters.
Whoa.
Last night?
Who knew?
Yeah.
Is that your QRP stuff?
Huh? No, that was about 100 watts maybe.
Nice. Greg?
Malawi, Rodriguez Island.
Yes. Oh, Rodriguez Island. Nice. Very good. Anybody else? Bill?
So I'm actually going to be DX.
Whoa.
I'm going to stand up here.
All right. Whoa, everybody. Glad you're all sitting.
Yeah, so I'm going to be operating from Roatan,
Ooh.
HR9 for the ARRL RIDI contest first weekend in January.
Nice.
A friend of mine, Alex, K6VHF, out of Chandler, Arizona, owns a house in Roatan, and he's in the process of starting to build a superstation. When he's done, it'll have two complete radio systems, multiple towers, and be completely accessible remotely from anywhere in the world.
Very
Now,
cool.
having said that, it's much more fun to go down there. So I'll be down there for a week.
Excellent. What were those dates again?
Pardon?
What were the dates again?
Well, it's the first weekend in January is the contest.
Very
I'm gonna
cool.
be down there like the 3rd through the 10th. So we'll be doing stuff outside the contest. We'll be on FT8. We'll be Prime 6 meetings.
Nice.
We'll be doing everything, satellites, whatever.
Very nice.
And then the other thing that happened to me today, I'll just mention this because we're talking about
Yeah.
contacts and stuff. So I used to have a W9 call, and I got an envelope today from the W9 QSL Bureau. And I opened it up, and there's a dozen QSL cards in there, and I'm looking at them, and the date range of the contacts was 2011 to 2017
Wow.
for every one of those cards.
Wow.
I'm like, what, did I even have a license back then? I don't remember. Anyway, so that was kind of a fun, unexpected thing.
Very cool. Thanks for sharing, Bill. So everybody, we're going to have to work Bill first week in January on RTTY.
Yeah.
Awesome. Anyone else? New countries? How about new radios? Anybody get a new radio yet? Oh, Randy's pointing.
I had it, but, well,
You lost it already? Or did Paul buy it?
no, I bought a one-on-one.
Ooh, very nice.
They had a Black Friday sale, it was a good price.
That was a real good. I had a buddy of mine in Charlotte who did the same thing on Black Friday. So awesome. Well, here we go. We'll kick into the. I will turn it over to Paul and let him fire up on all things logging. So you're going to get a steady diet of logging tonight. So when you're working Bill, you can get them logged. No, you need this. You don't need that. Not my wallet. You see what he did? He took my wallet.
Well, if you hand me a wallet, I'm not going to turn it down.
There's nothing in flash drive.
What?
The flash drive.
No, I don't have a PowerPoint. Okay, good evening. We are going to do a presentation on logging tonight, and there's 4 of us doing the presentation, and we're going to start out really basic, and then we're going to get into some really cool stuff. My stuff's maybe stuff you already know, and if it is, then I'm just going to review it quickly. I will anyway. But then we're going to get into specific application for logging SOTA and POTA with Scott. You all met Scott. We're going to talk about logging for contest with Dana, our new secretary. And Dan's going to round this thing out with Logbook of the World, just for you, Greg. That's an inside joke. ARRL product. Okay, so let's go back for a minute, and before I get into this, let's talk about the history of logging. The 1926 Radio Act passed by Congress, I believe, established the amateur radio service. There were a couple different bills in 1926, 1928, and so for the first few years, there weren't very many amateurs in the country, and if you were in LA, you sure couldn't talk to anybody in Pittsburgh. But amateurs had a call sign for the first time. Before that, they made stuff up, and so did all the commercial stations. You could do whatever you wanted to do. You could do 50,000 watts, or you could do 5 watts, whatever it was. But then amateurs decided to start logging their contacts. And I think there's 3 reasons. There's not a lot of history about this. I'm going to have to make some of it up probably, as I usually do. But I think they logged for 3 reasons. 1, bragging rights, just like we just talked about today, right? 1, to have an official record. Because a lot of these people were scientists and they were military people and this and that. And they're used to logging anyway, right? Logging engine running time and logging whatever. So it was kind of a natural thing, and it gave them a permanent log. And the 3rd reason was it was fun. I think they enjoyed it. You know, new hobby. They can be licensed now. They're legal. So it's kind of a fun thing to do. I think today that's kind of why we all log as well, right? Bragging rights, even if it's just to the wife or to the guys at Fuzzies tomorrow. We've had a few people stand up and brag about their contacts. And it's also fun, and that's just kind of what we do in the hobby. Now, back then, the only thing they were logging were HF contacts for the most part, right? Fast forward to 2023, a very large percentage of logging that's done today is also HF. There's a few differences though. We don't really know because we don't have access to a lot of the logs from back then. I've seen some of them, but back then they probably logged a lot of the same things we log, date and time and frequency and maybe transmitter, receiver, and they didn't have QRZ. They may not have known the person's name. There was no way to look that stuff up. But it was a pretty basic log. I'm guessing pencil and paper. Well, somewhere in the late 20s, maybe early 30s, somebody actually came up with a amateur radio logbook. And supposedly it was available through mail order. At one point in the 40s, it might have been available through Montgomery Ward. So you could actually buy a logbook. So somebody came up with a format, and it wasn't very detailed, but a lot of amateurs got a hold of a logbook, or they copied that logbook, and they started logging contacts. And different ways they did it. Back then, pretty much they logged everything, because I think a contact was like a really rare DX contact today, right? There weren't that many people doing this. And so as we moved into the era of pencils went to pens, and logbooks became bound, maybe leather, nice leather ones in the 50s, right? You could get some nice logbooks. And amateurs continued to log their contacts, primarily HF, but started doing some VHF with horizontal antennas, and there were some contests popping up in the 50s and 60s. So logbooks were a little bit more sophisticated, but not really any different than 1929. Now, something happened in 1981, and before I ask who knows what that is, you can think about it for a minute. I know Wayne's not here, so he's not going to challenge me on this, but that's the date I'm going with. So if you challenge me, you're just not going to get the gift. But I do have a 2021 ARRL calendar. No, that was a joke too. A 2024 ARRL calendar. Who can tell me what happened in 1981 that changed logging forever? Jeannie.
Motorola did something fabulous in the industry.
You were close. Come on.
Al Gore invented the internet.
Okay. Give me another one of these. Okay. IBM. What did IBM release in 1981? Bill. Personal computer. Thank you. Bill gets one. Yay, Bill. Okay, so now, and if Wayne was here, he was going, yeah, but in 1979 there was an Atari, and I get it, and there were probably logging applications, or they called them programs, for those, but people started writing applications, they called them programs back then, to work on the PC. So now amateurs had another way to log. Of course, you had to have a PC to do that, but we all know kind of the progression of PCs and amateur radio. So now you could go in and you could type in all that information. Date, time, frequency, call sign. Now you could probably look their call sign up in the ARRL book, right? There was a published record of who had what call sign, and you could fill all that in, and you could keep it forever because it was a Microsoft product and life was good, and you had it on a 5 1/4 inch floppy, right? Okay, so anyway, logging programs have transformed tremendously since 1981. There's hundreds of them. Now you can go out and you can still get a very, very basic logging program. I'm sure they're free. They're all over the internet. You can get them for Macs, for PCs, for whatever you want, Linux. Want to throw that in there for Jeff and for Dana. And some logging programs, like we're going to talk about here in a little bit, N1MM, are a little bit more specific to a specific activity, and they're more basic. But if you go with a log for Old Man, log for OM, or Ham Radio Deluxe, HRD, or Dan, is it Commander DX?
DX Commander.
DX Commander, or one of the other fancy programs out there, and I'll call them applications now, this is what you get. Now, you don't just log a contact anymore, right? You can log a contact in your logbook, which is this part right here, but now you can program the information you want in the logbook. You can have 10 or 15 different fields if you want, right? In addition to that, if you're into satellite communications, you can hook your satellite antennas up to this software. If you want to look at a movie map display of Grayline, it's there. If you want to pull up the KP index, well, it's there. If you want to look at a 30-day propagation forecast, it's there. If you want to interface this to other applications, you can do that, right? I think the software today is bloated, and I think most amateur radio operators only use a portion of this. However, that's not how the people that write this code think. They think if we do one application that will cover all of this, we're going to cover every different type of amateur radio operator and their activities. And they're right. They're absolutely right about that. So where one ham may only use a few things, other hams may be use a tremendous number of the different parts and pieces that make up this whole software package. Okay? Now, I'm going to go through this a little bit. We have it hooked up to a couple things. There's two things I want to note before we start here. I think there's two very, very important things that this type of software gives us. Some of this is not that flashy in my mind, but there's two things that have really made this software very, very, very important. One, it connects to your radio. Okay, so we're connected tonight to a KX3. Okay, I think it just transmitted when I picked it up. The second thing that it incorporates in this software is a DX cluster. How many people know what a DX cluster is and how many don't? Okay, if Dan into SRK makes a contact with a amateur station on HF in Germany, all right, he can get off that conversation and he can go to a DX cluster. He can spot that contact. He can put the information in the DX cluster about the fact that he is in Colorado, the other station is in Germany, it was a voice contact, we each gave each other 5.9, or what else would you expect from an Into SRK station? And other information as well, if you want to, if that DX cluster allows it. Now everybody sees that. Everybody can see it if they're tuned into that DX cluster. And it's part of these logging programs. And this is live right now. So what we're seeing here, and you may or may not see it scroll through here, but we'll talk about this in just a minute. So the two things that are most important, I think, radio connectivity and DX clusters. Because we can do a lot of this other stuff different ways and different software, but those two things are really important. So the first thing is, if you want to manually log a contact, you can do that by simply going up here. My mouse is working. And click on Add. And if I'm Dan, I can now go in and I can enter the information, the call sign primarily, because everything else about that contact, I just got off the radio, it's already there, right? There's some fields you can change. It's not always going to be 5.9 unless you're operating FT8, and we'll talk about that in a minute. As soon as you put the call sign in, you hit enter, and basically you have you have entered that call sign. Let's go back. It didn't go back. Okay.
Little X in the upper right, probably get rid of it.
Right here's what I'm trying to get rid of. Right here, maybe? No.
No. Under add my log, under your.
You've got a window right.
The window that's open.
Got it.
To the pop-up window.
Thank you.
Keep going, way over.
Got it. Okay.
Hard to see.
Thanks. I'm trying to look around the corner here. So the radio is connected to the software. You make a contact. You type in manually the contact's call sign, and you hit enter, and that contact is in your logbook. Okay? There's some things in there you can change manually, but that's how it works if you want to do a manual entry into your call sign. Now, if you're running FT8, you don't even have to do that, because this software application will send data to or get data from almost any other amateur radio application that is out there. So with an FT8 contact, as soon as the RR73 comes across, it sends a message to the Ham Radio Deluxe and says, log it, it's logged. You don't do anything. How simple can that be? Okay? In addition to that, we have a movie map display here showing gray line, the line between light and dark. We have a clock set up for Zulu time. We have our radio communications panel here, and we'll show you something better than that in a minute. And everything that's populated on the DX cluster here, I see it hasn't moved. Has it? Has it moved? Yeah, it did? Okay. Also shows up on this vertical display over here. If this is easier for you to see, or maybe you're looking for a DX petition, maybe you see the call sign here. When I go down here to the DX cluster, here's a spotter, okay, and here is a call sign. I want to mention something about that. If a Kuwait station spots a UK station, does that help us in Colorado? No. Could care less. I mean, it may be kind of cool to see it. So you can filter out how you look at this DX cluster. If you don't want to see everything coming out of Kuwait or out of the Middle East or whatever, but if you see a 5 call, and let's say you click on the QRZ button down here and you look that call sign up, because we have a direct connect to QRZ, and that's in western Kansas, and that station spotted a UK station. Now what does that mean to us? Go for it, because we're probably close enough, the propagation is